Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight. I am Lisa Johnson-Willingham, the director of the Ailey Extension. Yes, former Alvin Ailey dancer under the direction of Judith Jamison, and Ailey Camp Chicago director for 10 years. And currently, the director of the Ailey Extension was created in 2005 to expand and continue Mr. Ailey's legacy that dance came from the people and should always be delivered back to the people. So we offer classes for the general public 7 days a week. All levels are invited. So you all will receive a free class. So I'm looking at you all to make sure I see you in the lobbies at the Ailey Studios. All right, so tonight, oh my gosh, tonight is exciting. Tonight we gather to celebrate the profound partnership between Alvin Ailey and Duke Ellington. From a young age, Mr. Ailey was deeply moved by the genius of Ellington's music. As a teenager in Los Angeles, he had his first encounter with the legendary composer and his band. I used to see this amazing-looking man in a white suit with slicked back hair sitting at a white piano, he remembered. This moment marked the beginning of a lifelong admiration for the Duke. Fortunately for us, the two men would meet in person in the very year that Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater was born. So captivated of Mr. Ailey's work, Duke Ellington began attending rehearsals, forging a bond that would prevail. The impression Ellington left on Ailey shaped the core of his artistic journey, inspiring him to honor his idol through his own creations. Ailey repaid this influence with a legacy of his own, weaving Ellington's compositions into numerous ballets, including Reflection in D, The River, The Mooch, Pas de Duke, and, of course, one of his masterpieces, Night Creature. It is considered one of the highlights of Ailey's choreographic career and a tribute to Ellington's contribution to the arts. Joining me to discuss their experiences working under Mr. Ailey's direction and the creation of Night Creature are two celebrated former Ailey dancers, Miss Sarita Allen Not only is she a former dancer, but Sarita is my friend. Sarita Allen was handpicked by Alvin Ailey and became a leading member of Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater for more than 2 decades. In Sarita's first season, Mr. Ailey created lead roles for her in Ellington's premieres, The Mooch, opposite of Judith Jamison, and Night Creature. Next, we have Don Bellamy.
Hello, welcome.
Don Bellamy is an alumnus of Duke Ellington School of the Arts in Washington, D.C., where he first met and worked with Alvin Ailey. Thereafter, he received an invitation to join Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater and became a principal dancer for 10 years. Oh my gosh, thank you for coming tonight.
You are welcome.
You know, these are not only my colleagues, but my family. I'm so excited. We all dance together, teach together. We train together,
Yes.
Coming from Duke Ellington. So enough about me. We're going to get into the questions. So you both were so young when you joined the company. Briefly share with us the first experience, your first experience at Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater. Who wants to go first? Sarita?
Well, testing. Yes, it is. Okay. Well, my first experience was coming into rehearsal with Judith Jamison in the same ballet. She had already been there for 10 years, and she was already a superstar, and I'm dancing with her. In the ballet was only 3 other people. Hello. And so, and it was like pretty much my first professional job. So it was like being thrown into the swimming pool. You either sink or swim. So I said, all right, you want to be here? You better act like you know. You better figure it out. And so that was my first experience, and I was like a sponge with her. I said, if you want to stay in this company, and if Mr. Ailey felt that you could be on the stage with her, he wouldn't have put you there. So I watched her, I studied her like a hawk, and mainly just being in the presence with her on stage, I kind of learned from osmosis. And I says, no, but I'm with her, so I had to get the same power as she did, or my own power. So that was my first experience, like just thrown in the deep end right away.
What was the name of the piece?
The name of the ballet was The Mooch.
Okay. The Mooch.
Yeah, The Mooch is an amazing ballet because it was about four famous black women. Mahalia Jackson, of course, I knew. Another woman named Florence Mills, who I did not know, who was a famous tapper. And then the woman I played was Marie Bryant, who I didn't know at all. And Marie Bryant was like a hidden figure in the movies, in the old black and white movies. She really created that style of, like, when you see the Betty Grable and those sex symbols in the movies when they did the dance in Sid Charisse. She developed that, but of course, she didn't get any credit. She was a hidden figure. They would bring her in to teach, so she developed that style. And and it was challenging because we didn't have YouTube in those days or videos. I couldn't research her. You could not Google her. So Alvin, a lot of people don't know this, but he was an amazing actor and he was also an amazing mime. So he could change roles like that. So he became her. Literally, like, when you see, an actor, a man become a woman, but not in a cheap way, in a real way, like the really good, drag shows that they really transform. So he showed me each like little baby finger and each thing to do. So that was pretty interesting. So it was about the four famous black women with the music of Duke Ellington, of course.
Thank you. And Don?
So my first encounter I was actually in Washington, D.C. at Capitol Ballet. And we were told that Alvin gave us a gift. And it was actually another iconic ballet that has a reference to Duke Ellington, was The River. And truth be told, Sarita Allen was the first person I ever met through the Ailey Company because she came in to set these four sections on Capitol Ballet. It was 9 of us.
Yeah.
And I met, and we were told, Alvin's going to come, Alvin's going to come. We were like, okay, great. I knew who he was because I used to sneak out of school and go to the Kennedy Center, and I knew how to get through the back door.
Yes.
We were famous for that, get there. And one day, Miss Doris Jones said, we have a special gift for you. And there he stood. And that was my first introduction to this man, and to see this power. And I can curve it because the power came from how it was given to us. So Sarita knew. She was coming to him. He said, okay. Bye, 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 bye. Alvin said, oh, no, do it like this. Okay. And she would give it to us. So it was easy to transfer it. But for me, like Lisa says, I'm the type of dancer I wanted to dance. So anybody who spoke, I listened. We followed. What did you say? How did you want it? Okay, I understand. And I'll never forget it. He came up to me and he says, in rehearsal, we're going to do this section and this section and this section. I said, okay. I did my third variation last. He dismissed the entire group, and he did it for me, by myself. And he changed it. He says, but you could do this. Wow. And from that moment, that was my introduction. And it was one of these moments where I never blinked. This was all day. Sylvia Waters said, do you ever blink? I'm like, no. Because I didn't want to miss. I did not. I did not want to miss. I wanted to take all. Because I told him in an interview, he said, what did you want to dance? I said, anybody who would deal with me. Because Lisa knows me. I just wanted to dance. And I knew what this man has to offer. The music that comes from him. Not being played, but what comes through. How he would say, no, this is not this, or this is this. Get up. Make the audience go. What's over there? Bring them to you. And that's what I learned. And that was my first introduction at 22 years old. That was it, 22 years old. Yes?
Thank you. Okay, can you both speak about the story behind Night Creature?
Okay.
A perfect fusion of Ailey's exceptional choreography and Duke Ellington's brilliant music.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's quite literal. Like, they were both night creatures. They really were. I mean, Night Creatures, Duke Ellington composed, I think in the 50s. Do I need, okay. Anyway, it premiered at Carnegie Hall. But he literally was a night creature. He used to compose at 4 o'clock in the morning. Speaking of the river, there's famous stories that he would call Alvin at 4 o'clock, say, are you ready to work? When he was composing the music for the river, for American Ballet Theater. Alvin also was a night creature. Most creatives are night creatures. The problem with Alvin said he would have his ideas, choreography, but there's no people there. You know, composers, he could think, but he was the type of choreographer, he needed a body in front. Like now the composers or choreographers, they use computers, they can make it, they put the patterns out. We didn't have computers in those days. And the way he worked, he had to have a body. But he also liked to be out at night. I liked to be out at night. We all liked it. It was the disco days. It was night creatures. Literally, the interesting thing about that is both Alvin and Duke were social revolutionaries. Their whole thing was they used their art for social justice. He did a lot of work for, equality, things like that. So, but occasionally he did things just for fun, which is Night Creatures, is one of his fun ballets. There's no real story except for people coming out at night partying. It's just happy. The music is happy. The music is beautiful. And Duke, it's really centered around this poem or the saying that Duke Ellington wrote. Night creatures, unlike stars, don't come out at night. They come on. They come on, sorry. Each one, I've been saying this for years, I always get confused. Each one thinking by the end of the night, he or she will be the star. So, and it's just fun. It's just give and take. But it's a perfect example of the combination of Duke's music. So everybody thinks, when I ask the question, what do you think about, when you think about Duke Ellington, what kind of music do you think? Everybody always says jazz. But yet he has amazing orchestral compositions that people don't know about. He played at Carnegie Hall. He would play at, the best opera houses in the world, but yet people just think, oh yeah, Duke Ellington jazz, big band. Same thing, Alvin Ailey. Oh yeah, he's a modern. He does like gospel things. He does revelations. Alvin, the Ailey style is a combination of modern, jazz, and ballet. Particularly in ballet, during the time when he choreographed Night Creatures, he was really into ballet a lot. You know how Picasso has a different period. Artists have a different period. David Bowie, his early music, sounds different from his last music before he passed. So choreographers have that too. So this particular time, Alvin was really involved in the ballet world, and that's where it was beneficial for me because I was primarily trained in ballet. So when I came along, he was into that, so I had that. So it was like being at the right place at the right time. So it was the combination of, again, his jazz, modern dance, Martha Graham, and ballet. So Duke, is of course, jazz is his base, but then classical compositions, not necessarily classical music, but put in a classical composition form with full orchestra, violins. So when you think of it, the combination is perfect. They're both perfect, and they're both similar because they tried to step out of their box and they didn't want to be known as, Alvin was always mad when he did something and they were like, just stay in your lane. Why are you doing that? Why are you doing with point shoes? You're supposed to just do revelations. You're supposed to be, they wanted to keep us there. Duke Ellington, you're just supposed to stay in the jazz, place, in the jazz club. So they both we're into stepping out and breaking boundaries and creating new forms of dance. So it's a perfect combination.
Yes.
Right? It's the perfect combination. And the way Alvin works with music, it's not just in terms of staying on the beat.
Nope.
It's not. And the music in the Duke Ellington, if you hear it, it's so rich.
Yes.
So he would say, don't stay on the music, but be part of the orchestra. If you can exemplify the vibe, then the audience will get the vibe. It's not about just staying on the beat, everybody. But he would say, be another instrument in the orchestra.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's true. Like she said, Alvin say modern top, ballet bottom. So consistent with movement, like she said, because if you take the step, this is the step.
Easy.
But with Alvin, that's not what he wanted. He wanted you to bring it back home. Dee Dee, even when you turn away, where are we going? Hey, we going back up stage. Yes.
Where are we going?
Where are we going?
We going someplace.
Hey, what? Okay. That was Alvin. And that's, like she said, he took that rhythm and he made it broader and bigger. It wasn't this.
It's not this.
No,
but
it's this. It's in the
this.
middle. It's a move, yeah. Everything that he did, he touched, he allowed us to be. And I know I got him 1 year, and that 1 year was heavy because I had a chance to take from Sarita the Gary DeLoaches, the Kevin Browns, the Marilyn Banks, who could give you one word. Sometimes Dudley Williams gave you no word, he gave you the look. Okay. And it was easy at times. But it was something for me because I listened, and absorbed it because I wanted to mimic what I saw. And because they're here, we know. We got a chance to see. Especially, you are an extension of him. And that's how he never took the ownership. He always say, it's my dancers. Give it to my dancers. Because he knew he moved over for us, but he also knew what we gave, how we give it. Being a part of this organization, it builds, it's more than a step. It's more than a style. It is human, being human first, and have technique.
Yeah, you got to have the technique.
Got to have some technique.
I just wanted to piggyback on that, and I always say the name of the company isn't Alvin Ailey Dance Company.
No.
What is it? Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater. Theater makes it different. Alvin was an actor. He could have had an amazing career. In fact, when he was on Broadway and he was thinking about going in that pattern, that track, he would go to auditions with Sidney Poitier and all the other famous actors in his generation. He would get the parts. He was that good. So that's what I'm saying, when he would show me my part, when he could do the female part, like he could transform. He was that good of an impressionist.
Well, he knew what he wanted to say.
He could do it so perfectly.
Without talking.
Yeah, but he chose to do dancing. But also, he was an amazing dancer, but as Dawn said, he didn't have a big ego. Nope. So he stopped dancing because he wanted his dancers. Yeah. You know, a lot of companies, they have their name, and they have the lead dancer, and they're always the lead in it. It's their company, like Martha Graham, she was the lead, Paul Taylor, but him, he says, and he was an amazing dancer, but he was so ego-less that he says, no, I'm going to step back. I want my dancers to shine.
Yeah, give it to...
He didn't want to be like, I'm Alvin Ailey. This is my company.
Because we could never call him that.
No.
He says, I remember talking to him on the phone. It's like, hi, Mr. Ailey. He says, Alvin. Hi, Mr. Ailey. Alvin. Oh, okay. Hi, Mr. Alvin Ailey. And he says, okay. He was never that. Now, was he big? He was bigger than life. Because when he stood in front of you, he stood there. And he knew, as a Judy, as Sarita, Lisa, he knew how to stand in front and absorb all of it. But then he would turn it and give it back to us. That was Alvin.
Oh, generous.
Yeah, always. And then he would leave. He would never turn back. He gave it back to us, and he would say, okay, bye. And he would leave. He always gave it back to us because he used to say, they did the hard work. I just push them, but they do the hard work. Yeah, it's amazing.
All right, I know. I always, when I think of Night Creature, and I understand everybody describes it as fun and bubbly and champagne, but I always feel like the sophistication, right, of Duke Ellington and Alvin Ailey paired in that fun, you know what I'm saying, like dialogue or like movement style is shown. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like this, because when you think of Duke Ellington, I don't know, you always think of like this sophisticated
Slick back,
man,
tucks and
right?
tails.
So, and I also think of Alvin Ailey. So, a lot of times when I performed and looked at Night Creature, for me, I saw some kind of sophistication,
Yes.
undertone
Yes.
Right. That's right.
with that fun.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? The fun and bubbly and whimsical, as they describe it.
There
Yes.
was
What do you-
different parts to it. I always
Yes.
forget because there was in the musically it changes. It's not all that what we call. There's a part we call going to the South Seas, and it's also it's cool because it changes. And when you change the vibe, it's like. It's like very Dorothy Lamour. So you're right. That is a whole nother vibe.
Yeah.
Each section.
all of that,
We always thought
Donna's gonna perform.
and it sounds like
at
there's
8
palm
o'clock.
trees and the palm trees swing, and it puts you in like Tahiti or Bali, right? And then the middle part is like very sophisticated. You're
That
right. And
is
then
the-
the end, you're right.
No,
Then we
it's
get
true.
like da da da, and you go back.
Yeah,
bring it down.
there's some
Jazz.
sophistication in that too.
but
You know what
that's
I'm
the
saying? Like the
jazz of
jitterbug
it.
and the Harlem
Yeah.
But
Renaissance
it
and all
takes
of
you on a
that.
journey
Yes.
Yep.
musically.
All the way through.
Musically,
It
when
does.
you hear it,
Yes.
Because I think, because my favorite,
so fun.
the second section. You stand there. That is my section because you get a chance. Because I was blessed and honored, I get a chance to chase her. So you're always chasing behind her. There's this sophistication. But I know, it's true. There is this, Alvin took levels of dance and he, again, made you bring it to the forefront. You had to confront the audience, and that's what we did all the time. But that's sophistication.
Yes.
Then the ballet technique, the petit allegro. Oh, you had the tantaquise and brise and cease. Am I right? Yes. Tantaquise, inner brise. And you better hit fifth in those long dresses. Yes. But it did change. Ellington and Alvin had this, I don't know if one knew what the other one was thinking, or Duke Ellington must have saw something the night before, went home and came, brought it back, and then Alvin heard it and was like, oh, again, Sarita, done. And it's something that evolved. Everyone does it different. You know, we have our favorites. I know I do. I've watched a lot of women do this lead, but who do you remember? Not saying you don't remember them, but
We're going to get to that one. So, speaking of Sarita, during your first season, you were chosen by Mr. Ailey to be the lead dancer in Night Creature. What was the experience like for you, and how did it shape your journey with Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater? And she has this fantastic story
Yeah.
about when you first performed Night Creature and then transitioning over.
There's a
I told you
lot.
guys we're friends. So I'm
All
trying to
right,
lead
I'm
her
gonna
into
go-
this fabulous story.
Okay. So in the school, I was a scholarship student, and we had a group of friends. We were obsessed. We wanted to live there. We in fact asked them, could they buy the building next door to make dorms for us? We were obsessed. So we would stay early morning till late at night. We would paint the walls. We would answer the phones. We would clean. We were work study. We did everything. We wanted to live there. So he said, Alvin had an idea. Well, they need something else just beside, to take classes. He says, so other people could choreograph on us, and we became like a workshop. And then he had this opportunity to do work with CBS, and of course we needed money. The company was busy, so he says, maybe I can pass these kids off as the company. Oh, this is a true story. It was the CBS special called Ailey Celebrates Ellington, and Gladys Knight was the host. Alvin had not danced in 8 years. He got back in shape with us. So one of my favorite memories of doing the opening, the beginning of Night Creatures with Alvin Ailey, was dancing. And he had not danced. And while being with him for the whole process, while he was choreographing for himself and us, was also a learning experience because you could watch him do that style, and it's so rich. And I don't know, most of you probably have seen the video upstairs. Like when you see, like most choreographers, like Ron Brown, when he does his work, it's a certain vibe. Kyle Abrams, Martha Graham, when they do their own, it's very few people that can actually capture that. But to watch him over and over again, and we had to, so firsthand, the Ailey style, it's a very specific, and it's very animalistic, and it's very, but he was gorgeous. So, I mean, doing that with him, and I think the question was, how did it affect me? Just in terms of watching him completely get involved in the character and how he wanted us to perform, but not so in a phony method. It had to be real. Again, I come back to theater. Everything was about theater. What's the character? Reaching the audience. Every time. It wasn't just steps. It wasn't just steps. We were taught you had to move the audience. You had to move the audience. They have to have some type of vibe when they come out. They have to be feeling something.
Yeah, so he choreographed on Ailey Repertory Ensemble, which is
Yes.
now Ailey 2.
2.
And this premiered in 1974. And then Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater premiered Night Creatures in 1975, a year later.
Right.
Right? So he
Yeah.
choreographed on the younger dancers.
On the younger dancers, which we did, they just named it Repertory Ensemble. And then it became Ailey 2, but out of that group. So after we finished that, I got a letter from Alvin just saying, Miss Allen, he called me Miss Allen. Even though I called him Alvin, like he said, we all had to call him Alvin, but he goes, Miss Allen. He called me Miss Allen. But then he said, just please come to rehearsal on April 2nd at 10 o'clock. And that's how I got in the company. He just gave me a letter. Thank you very much. It was
So
really
again,
nice.
that's the
That's my
Ailey
introduction.
Ensemble, right?
Yeah.
He created to funnel dancers, right, to prepare the younger dancers.
Yes,
Right, to
yes,
be in the
exactly.
first company.
He was right, because
talk-
a lot
yes.
of times you're just a student, right? You're a student, you're learning your technique, but there has to be something else before you get on the stage. Like all
So
of
a
a sudden,
segue,
you're
right.
on the stage. Well, how do you work in not only just the stage? You have to learn how to work with choreographers. You have to learn there's etiquette in the studio. You have to learn how to figure out each choreographer has a different style. And then how do you get on stage? You have to figure out that. How do you get over your nerves? So he said there has to be like a a halfway between, a place, okay, from your finish your studies and then you're
Like a
off.
segue into the
Yeah, I
company.
guess it would
or-
be
yeah.
like in business, they call it interns. Like they finish their school and then you become an intern, you learn the ropes. How does it really feel? You don't go from college and all of a sudden you're a partner in a law firm.
Okay.
I
Wonderful.
guess, yeah.
Okay, so Don, what was your experience like dancing the lead role alongside Sarita Allen? And how did the collaboration influence your performance?
Well, as Sarita says, it was a moment. It's this moment that, again, you figured this out. 1 + 1 is because we were told, right? But then you want to go further and further. And for me, that was my drive. Again, I saw it. And then I heard it from him. But at the same time, I wanted it. I wanted nothing but to dance. She knows it. People say, where you going? I'm going to be on Soul Train. I'm up here. I'm going to dance. Because I wanted to dance. And it was this moment. Again, I didn't blink. So things did not get past me. And when I did not know, I was not afraid to ask. And again, I befriended as much as you can be a friend in the beginning. When you're teaching somebody, trying to get them to understand, I went to them. How do you do this?
Yeah, you would ask.
And then she'd be like, okay, get away. No, because I'll be like this.
A little bit.
See, no. See?
Simmer down, boo. Simmer down.
That was me. I wanted it.
No, he was hungry.
Yes, I wanted it. And all this food, all this buffet that was in front of you, you had so much to choose from. And I tried to eat it all. I did. Again, like this. Don't miss nothing, It was just something that...
Yeah. And I found out that while you were in rehearsing Dawn in D.C. For the river,
Yes.
that you went back to New York and said, Alvin, there's this dancer.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
Well, for those of you who just back up, don't know about the river was very important because it was the first time two black men, one was the score was commissioned by Duke Ellington and choreographed by Alvin Ailey for American Ballet Theater. So they were working together on it. The ballet was called The River, of course. And I don't remember what year it was, but it had been some time. Anyway, so Alvin asked me to go down to the Capitol Ballet to set The River. In those days, he used to invite me to go different places and set his ballets. So when I saw him and I saw Dawn and I came back and I told Alvin, I said, somebody I think you should see. And Alvin went down to the opening. We opened at the Kennedy Center.
Terrace Theater.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then the rest is history. There he was.
Yeah, it was a moment because Lisa and I had a teacher, Lynn Welters, and she came up to me and she says, there's something going on. And we were like, oh, I don't know. She's like, he is looking for something. And he came there not knowing. He met my mother, sat there. He talked to her. Because originally, I was supposed to go to the second company. And he was like, oh, you have a job. Just come. You have to come back to the audition. And I think this was just him having a conversation. Because I think I wouldn't have gotten it because I would have been so nervous. But I already knew I had a job. I knew I was going to train under Sylvia Waters. That's what I assumed. So going into that audition, Night Creature, Stack Up, the hard ballets. So it was a little bit easy. Still nervous because there was about 300 people there.
At least.
Oh, full. And it was a long day. But I was comfortable because I already knew. And the tables turned. Sitting on that floor, Alvin says to Chaya and Chaya says, you want them? And Alvin says, yes. let's take him. And Charlie says, okay. And he called my name. He says, I was number 14. I'll never forget. He said, number 14, Don Bellamy, the first company. I said,
Not the second.
yep. And he looked down and says, are you ready to work? I was like,
So, how does it feel to be one of the last
I know.
chosen class?
Yeah.
Because I don't know how many dancers he took that year, but
4. The return.
chosen, yeah,
Yeah, he asked me.
by Alvin Ailey.
Had gone by then. He asked me. I was actually working with the Jamison Project, and I was assisting Judith, and she had just started her company, 1989. I'll never forget.
89, yeah.
And he called me. He said, "Sarita, I want you to come back." And I was like, "Alvin, I'm working with Judy. We just started. We just have all these bookings. I mean, I'm her. What can I do?" And I was like, so he called Judith. They spoke, and so I got a call from Judith. Said, "I want you to go back. Our company is small. You need to be on that level. You're not ready just to do a small thing. I want you to go back." So I went back, and it was 1989, and then I had one more year with Alvin, and that's when you came in.
Yeah, that year.
That year, and then he passed, and then Judith came back, of course, and took over.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Alvin was interesting. He would take us around. Like for me, my first day, I come into the building, 1515 Broadway, go through Roy Rogers, get your food, go upstairs.
Roy Rogers.
Yeah, right there. And we go in first, you sit, orientation. Hello, dancers, welcome back. We have returners, Sarita Island, yay! And we have new people. Aubrey Lynch, Don Bellamy, and Maggie Peel, Margaret Peel. She was tall, beautiful, long legs. Day begins. Alvin goes, young man, come. Shoot. And takes me around. And he took me to John Butler and said, Mr. Butler, he doesn't have to learn it, be in it. I just want him in these rehearsals. He needs this. Let him come in. I didn't think. He says, okay, we'll be back. Come.
Yeah.
Ulysses Dove, he doesn't have to be in the ballet, but he needs to be in this room. Let's do this, okay? He'll be right back. And we went around, Tally Beatty, George Faison, and all of a sudden, I am in these rehearsals looking and learning. Because normally your first year, you don't get a lot. You pick up the rep.
Yeah.
Revelations,
back.
yes, Revelations, Night Creature, because I was the corner man behind Gary DeLoach and Kevin Brown, who can come out there. I don't know how he used to swing those hips, 50 feet tall. And Gary he could creep. You don't even hear him. Alvin, like you said, a creature. But Alvin did this for me. Not too many people. And after talking to Sarita, he liked what I had to offer. And we have to learn, correct? You learn every day. But he liked what I gave. And as Lisa can say, I was feisty. Never with him. But I was feisty. Because he was this icon that bigger than the world to me. And I knew somebody who looked like me. Then I found out he a Capricorn. I was like, ooh, me too. Yeah. Yeah. No, I did. And you started relating to this man's power. And it was something it did something to me and for me. It changed. And I always say, I'll never forget what dance has done for me. Never, ever, ever, ever. And what Alvin did. Alvin took me to these people and said, take them. He needed. And he made me take Horton class at 7:30 after rehearsal. He was like, you need some more Horton. And I will be there. And Aubrey Lynch stayed and took it. I couldn't walk home. But I did it because he asked me to. And he saw something. I don't know how he used to see your future. And he saw it. And he put it out there. And he made it clear. Hopefully you saw it too. And I think
Yes.
you do. You pick it up.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for me, I mean, I've been honored to be able to have a career and train under like these two incredible artists, right? Groundbreaking artists like attending the Duke Ellington School of the Arts,
First.
right? So we learned about Duke Ellington at a very young age. Also while learning about Alvin Ailey at the same time. And then coming into the company and seeing that they're both working together, right? Like that they are in this collaboration and partnership. I was like, you can't get any better than that, right? So I've been so honored to be a part of both of their legacy. So both Ailey and Ellington sought to elevate and showcase the Black experience in their work. Can you speak about their shared commitment to Black culture and the bond that it created between them that was both artistic and personal? That's a lot, but that's. But I'm just saying, these two men, like, but their careers, like,
Yeah.
it's spoken, it's evident, it's right there. You know what I'm saying? Both of them
Yes.
were brilliant,
Yes.
geniuses.
Yes.
You know, and just all of like the works that they have done together, the works that they have done apart, how impactful they were in the arts. You know what I'm saying? And American art. You know what I'm
Yes,
saying?
it-
Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater, right? That he created a new face for modern dance, right?
Yes.
Which was Alvin Ailey, and how Duke Ellington took an American art form, jazz,
Yes.
right?
And
And
made
elevated
it.
it. Yes.
Yes.
So that's what I mean. Like, can we talk about
Yes. I believe
That.
the river for American Ballet Theater changed the face of how ballet was taken. And it wasn't always buns in your hair and a tutu on your back. He let hair down. He allowed these women to feel what it's like to fall forward, to come back. Cynthia Gregory, there was no lake like I've ever seen in my life. She would come out there just as quiet as Alvin was and how he taught it. And she would step up on them point shoes, come through. He changed the face of ballet. After that, Duke Ellington took that music and he twisted and twined it and made it and orchestrated. It's incredible. Listen to that score. Listen to that music alone.
Oh, my goodness.
It is amazing. And he took, I don't know, I think the two hand in hand. He knew what he wanted, and Alvin knew what Duke Ellington wanted. And I don't think they talked amongst each other. They just lived their lives side by side. Because from my understanding, they hung out more than they did work. They did. They talked a lot. They always.
Well, they had a bromance.
Yes.
They respected
They were
each
best
other.
friends.
They were like, well, they could like two peas in a pod. You
Yep.
see, they saw themselves in each other. They both didn't want to be in the same bag, and they were right together. You know.
And I
They
think he
were.
was smart. I
They were
think
smart.
he took the blue suites and everyone sees those ballets and they say Alvin isn't the modern. And then he said, I'm gonna show you another side of this. And he took and he made the river. And it was longer and harder. And he's one of those dance choreographers. If you ever did an Ailey ballet, it starts off easy and it ends hard. And I don't care whatever ballet you do. Alvin never did nothing smooth. Now the step was, but the transitions were not. It was just how he took it. He made it harder. The vortex.
Oh my gosh.
I think he took that classical mindset and didn't put a twist on it. He elevated it. And he gave it life. And he put it to a point to where the only way it's given is that you gotta give it. And that's what he did. And I think from that moment, he brought it back home to us.
Right, and then he changed it for
He
us.
us.
Changed
Yeah.
it for
But
us.
for me, the river did that turn for him. Because he was always the blue suite. You know, the Massacallas and the Survivors. But that river and streams.
Yes,
He,
dreams.
he took that modern, he always said, ballet bottom, modern top, and he put it in that back. And those girls had to PK, am I right? And Ponche. Yes, you know,
Yes.
Lamentoso. Yes. So
Yes.
he took those elements and that's how it just elevated dance to the fullest. And it just happened to be ballet or happens to be modern. But it's a joint, you know? You scramble eggs. It's still an egg, but it looks different. He took that modern ballet and put it in one, but made a statement, which makes people change their mind, correct? That's what I believe. I do.
Well, when he did The River, that was really like now ballet companies, all ballet companies, those of you who follow ballet, they're having all kind of choreographers. They have to. They have, audience
Ballet.
development. They're
Yes.
having hip hop in New York City Ballet. They have Kanye West music. They have to. They can't. They're no longer just doing Swan Lake and Giselle. But we're talking in the 70s was The River, or I can't remember the word, the year exactly. I see our archivist is here, so she's probably going to be all kind of about me. I'm like, Sarita, you have the dates all wrong, so I'm not going to say any dates. The fact checker's here. So I just meant to say that it was kind of the beginning, like he's saying, we had all the famous ballerinas, at ballet theater, and they're doing all the classicals, like, Coppelia, and then he has the, okay, take your hair down, and then like moving. They didn't have that much in those days. It was new for them because they were so used to being pulled up, and he's asking them to go off center.
Yeah.
Go off center.
Ponche on the thigh.
Now they
With the
all
foot.
do. Now they all have to. All ballet companies, they have every choreographer. They have, all the coolest choreographers. They have to because they want to keep bringing in new audiences. But back then, not so
one.
much. So it was pretty revolutionary for them to explore different ways of moving. And I just want to say something quick about streams. The composer, he was considered a dissident. I believe it was Yugoslavia, Czechoslovakia, when they were occupied by the communists, and his music was banned to be played, even in people's homes. You could not play his music. We went there, and he was the composer for the ballet streams. So they told Alvin, no, you can't play this. You have to take this off the program. Alvin never listened. So we did it. And the man, at that point, he was like 102 or something, really feeble. He came, and we met him. He came, and he saw his ballet in the big opera house. I forget where it was, Czechoslovakia or something. And he was a famous composer, but he had not heard his music played,
See, evolution.
in like, I don't know how many years it was banned. And then he passed away like a couple of years after that. So it was pretty interesting. Yeah, it was pretty interesting. It was similar like when we went to Israel during one of the wars, and he asked all of us, he says, I'm not going to force all of you to go. It's going to be up to your decision, but I'm going to go. And I think we should go, and we all went. And we said, we're not going to let that stop us because they need to see us. That's what we need. We want to uplift people, and that's when they need us most, not during the time when everything is good. So those are the ways that he showed his, his physical, his social justice. He did that all the time.
All the time.
All the time. Things like that.
Yes. So the company, Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater, travels all over the world. We've probably been to 40 countries, over 40 countries, and 70 million people have seen the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater. Do you remember your most memorable performance of Night Creature? Where and why it was the most memorable?
For me, it was, I don't know what happened. They changed the casting. And so I come into the theater, and we were in Israel.
The David's Wall?
Yes.
Jerusalem?
That's it, Jerusalem. We were in Israel, and they changed the casting. And I did all 3 sections of Night Creature with Sarita Allen. First of all, no one had done that. Because we have 2 different men.
There's different characters.
Yes.
The men different ones at each part.
And they allowed me to do all.
So how many sections is it in Night
Three.
Creature? So 3 sections, and you did all 3
All
sections,
three.
the lead male in all 3
Yes.
sections. And this happened the first time?
First time
ever?
Well, for
Or
me,
first time
I
for
I
don't
you?
never
know.
saw it before.
Yeah, first
Okay.
time.
It's always 3.
Yes.
3 different
And
males.
I did all 3 because something happened with casting. That's one thing about it. They go scratch green print, get print, get print. Don't matter where you at. Sorry, Mr. Bellamy, and they put you in, and they tell you.
Right, at the last minute, right? You're like, you gotta
better
be ready.
on time, and you
You
better
gotta
be
be
ready.
ready.
Yes. And that was my moment. First of all, I did all 3, so I get a chance to do the second section, and you do the end.
Change all 3 characters.
Yes, and that's what my highlight was for Night Creature, was being able to.
Well, mine is, I have 2. One of them was, as I said before, Dancing with Alvin, doing it.
Yes.
But the other one was, it was Dancing at the Acropolis. And it was like a full moon. And as the ballet, it starts, you're looking up. And you walk down, and I'm like, da-da-da-da. And I'm looking at the amphitheater, and I'm like,
Yes.
oh, where am I?
Da-da-da-da.
Da-da-da-da. I'm like 20 years old. Like, what is this? How did I get here? So that I remember. It was like,
Yes, amazing.
I mean, I have lots of experiences with full moons. There was another one, again in Jerusalem, in the David's Wall. And again, starting Fix Me Jesus, looking up, and there's a full moon. So I'm doing Fix Me Jesus in Jerusalem. And we're outside theater.
Wonderful.
So lots of really moments.
All right, so I'm going to open the floor, but before I open the floor for questions, I'm going to surprise Don with this. Don shared the stage with his brother in Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater. The only time we've had 2 siblings perform in the company at the same time. Can you share with us, what did that feel like?
Sorry. It was a bittersweet. We were totally different. He was amazing, and not because he was my brother. It's because he was the true ballet dancer that he was. He was long and thin and long feet, and he was the first African-American black man to do Prix de Lausanne in Switzerland. And he did Nuria's variation of Corsair with the double sweep. Wow. So I got in first, and I actually auditioned him. I was on the audition panel for him to get into the Ailey Company. And we were kind of like, who was better? Actually, he was. But I was the and he was the Trina. He could do all the technical. He was beautiful, beautiful legs and feet. And it took us a couple of years to realize what we had as a unit, what we had. And we got our break. We did Dua. They gave us Dua. And he came out there. I was like, uh-oh, here we go. And then after that, we got For Bird. And he played Dizzy. And I was Charlie Parker. So it was amazing after we decided, because we are totally different. However big I am, I was this Ailey man. I was this big Ailey man. You danced with all the Ailey women. And he was, I don't know, say soloist, because he covered Desmond. He covered Dwight. So he did the technical ballets, which all the ballets are technical. But he was one that could do it all. Sarita knows him. Yeah, Lisa, we all dance. We know him, and he's no longer with us. Yeah. And it's been over 20-something years he's been gone. But he was amazing.
He was.
And we call him Wheezy. Yeah. And he called me Hunker Chunk. But we had this mutual respect for dance. And so that's what kept us going. He was amazing. Amazing. Yep, second company.
He was awesome. I just wanted to say, for those of you who don't know what Dua is was choreographed by Alvin, and it was about two guys on the town, and they're loaded, drunk as skunks. A dua. But what's the music? Is it like an old blues,
yes,
like a blues, and it's real funny, and they're like really, But the two of them are together.
connection.
They're best friends. They're two, and they choreographically they stayed together the whole time. The whole time, do what? And they're drunk as skunks, and they and it's so funny, and it's hard to play drunk. Like you see, and to dance, you see actors who aren't really good actors when they're playing drunk. It's not really good. It's hard to play drunk when you're dancers. But to really seem like you're drunk, as opposed to, he said, don't act like you're drunk, be drunk. There's a difference. But the two of them together was just like, oh
Magical.
my God.
It was
Yeah.
magical.
Yeah.
To see them. Yeah.
Oh, he was amazing.
All right, before I open the floor, I want to acknowledge two former Ailey dancers who are going to stand up. Olivia.
And they could dance too, y'all. Woo-woo.
All right. The floor is open for questions. Anyone? We covered a lot, huh? Yes? Okay. Oh, he's going to bring the mic.
So when I was a little girl, I was in a ballet company, which I couldn't stand, because they had a really mean German dance teacher. And only person I loved in ballet was when I was a little girl and got to go backstage and meet Judith Jameson at the Alvin Ailey. So all I wanted to do, and I just said, I just wish I was born as a black little girl. I hate being a white girl. And I walked around and told my parents and everyone I knew this. So then I would go to gospel church with my nanny, and I'd be, see, this is so much fun. Temples stink, churches stink. You guys got soul and community. And so I went to Alvin Ailey last weekend, and I got it because everyone in the audience is like roaring and clapping, and it almost makes me want to cry because it's just like all about community and unity, and yet you have soul and you have rhythm and you have music. You're like so lucky. So all I want to say is, I kind of want to come back as, a black person. Again. I know it's the strangest thing you've ever heard, probably.
Kind
No,
of.
it's not.
feel that
Kind
way.
of.
No,
It
it's
is.
not.
I
at
just
all.
think you're so fortunate, and thank you for sharing tonight. That's all I wanted to say.
You're welcome.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I think Alvin Ailey's choreography, it touches your heart and soul, right? So I think that's what it is. His choreography pulls on your heartstrings, right? And it's a spiritual experience. So thank you for being a part of the spiritual
Yes.
experience that you have when you're in the theater. All right, anyone else? There's tons of questions. Come on. Yes. Right here.
I found your comments about both mimicking Alvin, who could create the characters, and then him stepping aside and you expanding that or expressing that. Such an interesting balance between you weren't becoming Alvin,
No.
but you mimicked him and then he gave you the space. I don't know if you can just comment on that, because I think that is such a rare combination for a leader or a choreographer who's not trying to create clones, but is being precise and then bringing out your best. So I don't know if you can comment on that.
No,
but it
that's
struck me.
exactly, you got it, because he always says, I do not like cookie cutter dancers. In the ballet Hymn that Judith choreographed for him, it's spelled Hymn, but it's about him. They have his voice speaking, talking about, I do not like cookie cutter dancers. That's why when his company, we all looked different. Nobody looked the same, but you're exactly right. He would coach us, but then he would say, no, make it yours. And he would there would be 3 people that did a role. He would let them, he would also add or choreograph little things that fit our bodies. Like I didn't do the same choreography as Lisa in the same part. I mean, the base would be the same, but he wanted us to explore our freedom. He wanted it. That's another thing that he was so extraordinary, that he wanted you to explore and then bring yourself to it. And he was not controlling, which was so much more fun to dance. Somebody had told you every little thing and you were afraid to do anything. She says, no, I want you. I want you to bring you. We want to see you. You're not being, and because we were people, most of us are people, the difference between when we're not playing fairy tales, we're not sugar plum fairies, we're not all these, these ballet things. We're real people. So that's what we wanted to see. Real people are different.
Yeah, he choreographed real people,
Real people.
on stage.
So that's what
right,
he
and he
said,
said
"You
his
be
blood
you."
memories.
Yes.
Right, he
used to
choreographed
say-
for his blood memories. Right, so growing up in Rogers, Texas.
Yes.
And Blue Sweet, if you look at
Revelations,
Blue
Blue
Sweet,
Sweet.
you see those people from Rogers, Texas. Everybody was a memory
those churches.
from him.
It's
And I
hot.
remember saying he encouraged his dancers to go out and experience life. Like
Yeah.
visit museums.
Oh, yes.
Learn a new hobby.
Where you go?
Well,
is
he was the
tonight.
opposite of the one that most people here, some people I'm sure have seen the ballet, The Red Shoes, the movie, The Red Shoes. But that's the old, the cliche of the ballet master. You just have to go home. You just do ballet class, you go home. You do the performance, you go home. You live and breathe. But that was just, they were playing characters. They were playing Giselle. They were not living. So he would say, how are you supposed to portray people if you just go home and you just have tunnel vision? How can you portray anything? You don't know anything. You have to be curious. That's why I love this exhibit, and he would love this exhibit because he would tell us to go to exhibits as much as he would say go to class. He would say to me especially, you already have technique. Go
to
out,
movies.
go to the movies, go to an art. I want you to get friends, make
Cooking
friends.
classes.
Cooking classes, make friends with other people that aren't dancers. He says, how are you going to, he says, so he taught me one of the things I love, that to be on the subway and you study. You're not studying and like blocking everything out. It's so interesting. He says that's where you do your character development. Go
remember-
out, be friends with other people, be friends with poets, be friends. That's part of what you can bring to the stage. How are you going to bring anything if you just go home after class every day?
'Cause
You're going to be
remember,
boring.
Alvin used to say, dance comes from, yeah.
He would say that to me. He was like,
would.
Miss Allen, would you try not to bore me tonight? He had a sense of humor. That's how he would correct you. And then
Or-
sometimes he would say,
Do my
that was
step."
very nice. He would say, Miss Allen, that was very interesting. But could you try to do my choreography tonight? He would. But he would say it from the wings right before you go on. They're calling places. He was like, can you try not to bore me tonight? And then you have to go.
But you have to remember, dance comes from the people, and it shall be
He was
delivered
funny.
back to the people, and
Not
that
funny.
puts a tag on it. He always my friend Avery Walker is in the back, and we are documentary freaks, and he's seen everything that Alvin said. He said, "Oh look, gotta find it. Look, listen to him." He did. He finds it, and Alvin. Sidney Poitier or somebody asked Alvin, did you miss dancing? He goes, yes, I miss it. He says, but I've decided to move over and give it to the next person. He says, yes, I miss it. He says, but I decided to move over and to give it to the next person. Because he always wanted human first. That's the first thing we do. We're born, we go, ah! That's the first thing we do. Let you know that we are here. And that was Alvin to me. And I can speak, that's what he was about. Say something. Because if you do not say it, he will tell you, please do my step.
You would get fined. We would get fined.
I have something. Can I say something
Financially.
really quick?
Yes.
My very first tour, we went to the Grand Palais. Am I saying it correctly?
Paris?
In
Yeah.
Paris. And we did 2 weeks of the hardest program. Blue Suite, Cry, Night Creature, Rainbow Round My Shoulder, Revelations. And I did 2 casts of Rainbow Round My Shoulder. Aubrey Lynch and I were the first 2. We were brought in that year, so we had to do it. Everybody else was like, I'm not doing that ballet. I've been here 8 years, I'm not doing that. So Chaya said, Don-san, Aubrey-san, you go do both casts. Yes. And we did. We did both casts. And I'll never forget, my third performance, There's a part in Rainbow we go, Rainbow. Yeah. There's an odd number, and I used to get up. And I'm like, you know what I said. Get up, ooh. And I'll run off. I'm brand new. So you have 6 months to prove if you are an Ailey dancer, meaning you can fight the tour and do the rep. Okay, next night, Alvin goes. He comes out, so I'm hiding behind dancers like, I know he's going to say something. I know it. Nothing. I go out. Where did I get up? Same spot. So I said, oh. So this time, I run right into him. And he looks at me. And he always say, young man. So I said, oh. So started coming down. And he says, what you crying for? I was like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And he goes, show me progress. Don't mess up the same step. He said, mess up the next step. To show me that you are progressing. I ain't never mess up a step again after that man spoke to me. Because I realized you can't go further if you do not step 1 foot in front of the other. And he kept going. And after that, and I'm saying I never messed up. I messed up odd ways. I fell down and tripped and dislocated my shoulder and broke my foot and yeah. But I learned that from him. He said, show me some that you're progressing, getting more. Mess up the next step. Not in Rainbow, never messed up another step again in that ballet. But it shows you he was very demanding, but it's a different type of demanding. He wanted excellence, and he wanted you to show your excellence, not excellence of the Alvin Ailey. No, Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater. That's what he wanted to see. Excellence. Confront. Tell the story. If it's, I'm sorry, Blue Suite, there's 3 prostitutes in the house. Another one, kill it. Yeah, and you must show it because each of those women are different. The mother, there's a young one who has no clue, the last girl, always sick, always vomiting, always showing something. But it's you being human first. Show who you are. Show this through you, And I'll never forget, never. He would tell you when you're wrong, he'll tell you when you're right. Do my step. Sometimes. Yeah, no, he was busy. That's how I saw it.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to close with one last question. Well, it's not a question. In one word, describe what it means to be a part of their enduring legacy, using one word.
Phenomenal.
Extraordinary.
I'm going to say divine. So thank you all for coming tonight.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out in this nasty weather. We're so appreciative.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.